Welcome back to Historical Arrow Podcast. In our last episode, we explored the origins of Jewish and Islamic hatred. Today, I'll take you on a journey through the times when the Islamic world once threatened and dominated much of the globe. Currently, the Islamic world, particularly the Arab nations, is engulfed in the flames of war. Conflicts have raged relentlessly for the past 20 to 30 years with no end in sight, leaving the Arab people in deep sorrow with little hope for tomorrow. Yet, 3,000 years ago, Mesopotamia was the cradle of human civilization. And just 600 to 700 years ago, the regions of present-day Iran and Iraq symbolized sophistication and enlightenment, while the United States had yet to form and Europe remained backward. So why has this changed so dramatically? In 630, a man performed a miracle by uniting the tribes of the Arabian Peninsula under the banner of a new religion called Islam, in the Holy Land of Mecca. As the last prophet sent by God, this man upheld noble ideals, crushed moral decay, and bridged the gap between rich and poor with a pure doctrine granted by the Almighty. He championed basic rights like food, clothing, happiness, and most notably, the freedom of women. That man was the Prophet Muhammad. With forward thinking and a religion that united Arabia, he laid the foundation for an Islamic empire that would dominate the world within just 100 years. With a magnificent civilization and vast trade networks, the Islamic Empire struck directly at a backward Europe. More crucially, Muslims controlled the world's key trade route for much of history, the Silk Road. But along this route, only China, India, and the Islamic nations of Western Asia held center stage. The British, Dutch, Portuguese, and Spanish were left out. Much like Africa is marginalized today, while the EU, China, the US, and Japan form alliances. Medieval Europeans craved Indian spices, Chinese silk, and countless other luxuries transported along this route. Back then, Europeans had only salt for seasoning and crude roasting methods for cooking. In the Middle Ages, spices in Europe were luxury items worth their weight in gold. In 13th century Spain, pepper was weighed against gold on a scale. A wealthy person was called a bag of pepper, much like a high-value football transfer today is referred to as a bag of money. Nutmeg, cloves, and cinnamon were also highly profitable commodities for anyone who could bring them to Europe. Despite their luxury and high profit, Europeans were powerless to reach India due to the Muslims' monopoly and the geographical distances. Yet, all these glorious achievements collapsed due to internal divisions within the Arab world and among Muslims. Instead of uniting, they fought each other, splitting into Sunni and Shia branches, with Saudi Arabia leading the Sunnis and Iran representing the Shias. In 2023, a historic handshake between Iran and Saudi Arabia, mediated by China, marked an unexpected reconciliation, temporarily ending a millennium of hostility between these two Islamic sects. It remains uncertain how long this détente will last, but it reminds us of a time when Islam was unified under Muhammad's successors, conquering the world. So how did Islam once threaten the entire globe? In the medieval period, no empire expanded as rapidly and powerfully as the Islamic Caliphate, though it lasted only about 3 centuries. This empire left a tremendous legacy, deeply influencing today's world. The greatest legacy of this empire is Islam itself. Though the empire fell, Islam continued to spread far beyond the Arab lands, becoming the spiritual force behind other great empires like the Ottoman, Mughal, and Timurid empires, and is now one of the world's 3 major and most influential religions. Looking at Muslims over 1.400 years ago, no one would have imagined they would become great conquerors and a global threat. At the time, all attention was on the Middle East, focused on the fierce rivalry between the Eastern Roman Empire and the Sasanian Persian Empire. History shows that the power of an empire does not depend on resources, land, or population. Any civilization can overcome adversity and transform from small to great by harnessing three fundamental elements: knowledge and a thirst for learning, unity and strategic thinking, and strength with influence. Islam at that time embodied all three. With aspirations to conquer the world, the Arabs transformed from poor nomadic tribes into a formidable medieval empire and one of today's most influential religions through unity, faith in the Almighty, and strategic foresight. Returning to the early days of Islam, when Muhammad first founded the religion, he declared himself the last prophet of God. But Muhammad's greatness didn't end there. Have you ever wondered why so many people followed him back then? Imagine walking down the street, proclaiming yourself a prophet and preaching unknown teachings. Most people would dismiss you as crazy. So how did Muhammad succeed? His strength lay in his persuasive skills and patience. After 2 years of writing the Quran and preaching, he converted only a handful of family members. Initially, Muhammad and his followers were mere refugees fleeing persecution by polytheists in Mecca. However, within 5 years, all 6 Arab tribes in Medina had embraced Islam, and the city came under Muhammad's sole leadership. Muhammad's persuasive skills were undeniable. He used religion to unite the once hostile Arab tribes. In Mecca, as the final messenger sent by God to humanity, he promoted the most beautiful ideals, shattered moral decay, bridged the wealth gap, and advocated for human rights, food, clothing, happiness, and freedom. He focused on practical realities rather than promising heavenly rewards or threats of hell, emphasizing that God wanted his followers to be strong and self-reliant, not merely waiting for rewards in the afterlife. Muhammad was not only a master persuader but also an outstanding military leader. According to historian Gabriel, Muhammad never received formal military training. Yet he was undoubtedly a brilliant general. Gabriel suggests that Muhammad might have been the first commander to employ guerrilla warfare tactics. He led his followers through 8 major battles and 38 military campaigns, guiding them to success and establishing Islamic ideals. In the 2 years before his death, Muhammad reformed the Arab world, transforming a ragtag force into a formidable army poised to pursue greater ambitions. He built an elite military and valued each soldier's qualities. Soldiers were well paid and treated better than those in contemporary empires like Persia or Byzantium. Muhammad and the caliphs fortified their soldiers' faith, using Islamic ideals to instill a sense of divine purpose, telling them they were fulfilling God's will. This belief made Muslim warriors particularly courageous in jihad. The Arab Empire dedicated significant resources to building a strong military, organizing all men into units. After 2 years of training and equipping their soldiers, they began expanding into Christian territories with military might. Arab soldiers, motivated by martyrdom, displayed endurance, discipline, superior horsemanship, and fervent yet rational religious zeal. The Arab conquests exemplify how ideological unity can compensate for technological and organizational shortcomings. The generals of this era deserve to be ranked among the world's greatest military geniuses. Starting with Abu Bakr, Muhammad's chosen successor. Abu Bakr sought to expand Islamic territory, targeting the Sasanian and Byzantine empires, and quickly succeeded in his conquests. After capturing Iraq, the Arab army advanced into Byzantine lands, With strong support from General Khalid ibn al-Walid, Abu Bakr's forces seized vast territories, including Damascus, which became a cultural center of Islam before becoming the capital of Muhammad's caliphate. The fall of Damascus was a major turning point in Islamic history, solidifying and spreading Islamic power across the Middle East and North Africa, ensuring the future rulers of the Islamic kingdom had an unassailable stronghold and paving the way for the complete conquest of Persia. Following Abu Bakr, the third caliph, Umar, conquered territories from Egypt to Persia within just 10 years. Over the next century, the Arab Empire grew to several times the size of the Roman Empire at its peak. This empire's success was not just due to a powerful, elite army with unwavering faith in the Prophet Muhammad and divine revelation, but also due to a relentless pursuit of knowledge, exploration, and creativity that laid the groundwork for a progressive civilization still influencing the modern world. Don't believe Western media's portrayal of Muslims as reckless, blindly faithful warriors. Courage was vital, but so was knowledge. Muhammad once said, "Whoever leaves his family to seek knowledge is on the path of God. The ink of scholars is as sacred as the blood of warriors." The Arabs greatly valued scholars and educators, inviting many Western scientists and professors to teach at their universities. Thus, Islamic education achieved remarkable successes. From primary to university, a comprehensive education system emerged, with many major universities alongside a vast network of schools and numerous libraries across the Arab Empire. By the early 13th century, the Arabs had learned papermaking from the Chinese, leading to a surge in book production. By the late 9th century, Baghdad boasted over 100 bookstores. Baghdad, when sacked by the Mongols, housed 36 major public libraries. These libraries were open to all, and some even provided paper for students. This access fueled widespread learning across the empire. While European culture was in decline, Arab universities, especially in Cordoba, attracted many European students. The Islamic Empire, with its university system, fostered a magnificent civilization, contributing significantly to scientific, mathematical, astronomical, and philosophical advancements that helped shape the Western Renaissance. Drawing on the intellectual legacies of East and West, the Arabs developed a distinct literary culture deeply influenced by their religious beliefs. The Quran stands as a monumental literary work, embodying Arab wisdom and genius. Another globally renowned work is 1001 Nights, a collection of stories that has enchanted generations worldwide. Initially, the Arabs lagged in the natural sciences, but by absorbing the achievements of surrounding civilizations like India and Greece, Islamic science rapidly advanced. Arab scholars made significant contributions, especially in mathematics, astronomy, geography, medicine, and chemistry. They expanded fields like algebra, trigonometry, and geometry and perfected the numerical system. Today's foundational principles in astronomy were laid by Arab scientists. In physics, they built on Greek and Indian achievements, compiling works on optics, including theories on light refraction through convex and concave lenses. These discoveries paved the way for Western scientists to invent microscopes and telescopes. In astronomy, the nomadic Arab lifestyle provided ample opportunities to study the stars. Religious rituals also spurred astronomical achievements, including detailed records of 5.015 stars, 47 constellations, and theories about the Earth's shape and the structure of the universe. Islamic medicine also flourished, with Muslim doctors pioneering many medical treatments. Numerous medical texts were translated into Latin and used in European medical schools. Arab physicians mastered surgery early on, and depictions of anatomical drawings in Arabic have been preserved. In the 1950s, George Sarton, a renowned Western scientist, offered an honest appraisal of the Arabs, without Muslim scholars and their achievements. Later scientists would have had to start from scratch, and our civilization today would have been delayed by centuries. Yet, all rise is due to ambition, and all falls due to ambition. Many empires have adopted Islam as their state religion throughout history. But the Arab Caliphate was the oldest and most powerful. From desolate lands, the Arabs built a mighty Islamic empire under Muhammad's leadership. According to Islamic tradition, Muhammad, a Meccan tribesman, was chosen by God to save humanity. He began preaching in Mecca but faced strong opposition from the local elite and adherents of traditional beliefs. Unable to endure the hostility, Muhammad and about 101 followers fled Mecca in 615. They were warmly welcomed in Medina, now part of Saudi Arabia, where Muhammad became the city's leader. 7 years later, in 622, Muhammad declared the establishment of the first Islamic state. By 630, Muhammad launched a campaign against Mecca with 10,000 troops, the most formidable Islamic force at the time. Mecca did not resist, and after 15 years in exile, Muhammad returned triumphantly to his homeland. This was the journey of an orphan who unified his people in his native land. In 632, Muhammad died, leaving a profound legacy for his successors, a strong army, a foundation of knowledge, and, most importantly, an enduring faith and ambition for conquest. These elements fueled the Islamic Empire's expansion over the next 100 years. By 750, internal strife among the Arabs and rebellion from conquered peoples marked the beginning of the end. The Abbasid dynasty overthrew the Umayyads, ruling the Islamic world for 500 years. Under Abbasid rule, the Islamic Empire unified and its culture flourished. In reality, the Arab Empire effectively ended around 900. Although the Abbasids maintained religious authority as caliphs in Baghdad until the city fell to the Mongols in 1258. Like many empires, the Islamic Empire eventually collapsed. Unable to sustain its core values, pursuing a borderless empire built on greed and relentless territorial expansion. Although innovative, its achievements were often incomplete, as the thirst for learning and creation primarily served imperial and religious expansion. Absolute faith in the Prophet and the religion led to extremism, while internal divisions among sects and tribes weakened unity during conquests. Political and security instability arose from forced religious changes in conquered territories. Despite lasting only about 3 centuries, the Islamic Empire left an immense historical legacy, influencing the modern world. The Umayyads and Abbasids were not the last Islamic empires. After the Mongols' downfall, another empire emerged, drawing on Muhammad's teachings. This empire became the greatest in Islamic history and struck fear across Europe, the Ottomans. How did the Ottomans rise to power? Find out in our next podcast episode.